I don't even know if you have this answer yet, but we're looking at the Pirates as a number 1 overall draft pick this year. Who do we got there? Is it Dylan Cruz? Jason Dollinger?
Yeah, I've got I saw Dollander a couple of weeks ago. He was fine. He's the type of guy who, it's not like he's Strasburg or anything like that, but he's pretty consistent with the best college pitcher in a draft. He'll probably go somewhere in like the top 5 or 7. I have Dylan Cruz 1. Folks can go to the Fangraphs and hover over prospects and click on the board and then click on MLB Draft, and you'll see where the draft list is at. I updated it right before the college season started. And yeah, Cruz has basically been really, really good the whole time. Like high school sophomore Dylan Cruz was exciting, and he's basically been great his whole life. There's a little bit of swing and miss there, sure, but there's just so much power. He's got a good chance to stay in center field. I think that fatigue from him, be wary of that. Like he's been at the top of this group for years and years. When he didn't sign coming out of high school, he was the best unsigned high school guy. And so, he's just been tracking as the best guy in this group for a long time. And I think that, I'm certainly guilty of this at times, have a tendency to get fatigued of guys like this. And so like there's Wyatt Langford and but I just think that Cruz has been so good for so long and so consistently so that's my guy. And I think he's pretty special. An amateur scout who's an area guy with the team in your division sent me his scouting report on Dylan Cruz the other day, and wow, like he's got 7s and 8s all up and down that scouting card. I don't think things are quite that big. He told me he thought as soon as Dylan Cruz is drafted that he should be a top 5 prospect in baseball. So I think, folks should watch LSU in general because a bunch of those they're just so much fun. And they have a bunch of those guys who are probably going to be in the mix for teams in the top 10. And, I think it's Dylan Cruz number 1 with a bullet. But if we start picking nits, which you have to at the very top of the draft, and there's, I have, the data from his career doesn't send up any red flags to me immediately. But if you start to go, actually, there's this thing that actually, just pulls him down into that group with like Langford and Max Clark and stuff, then maybe you do what they've done with Henry Davis basically and like cut a deal at 1. But at some point, don't you just want a guy who might be like a superstar rather than a guy who's just fine and a bunch of other lottery tickets?
So basically you're saying just don't get cute.
Don't get too cute with it. I think that there's a guy in a tier on his own in this year's class, and that sometimes it's just hitting you over the head. But yeah, I'm a big Dylan Cruz guy. I think it's a pretty deep draft. I'm excited about it. And do you guys have any comp picks too? Do you guys have like a bunch of comp picks that?
We actually, I think this year we do not. I think we are comp picks in the second round.
Okay.
I think. I could be
wrong. It's a good draft to have like 3 picks in that top 45 or 50. I feel like there's so many fun high school guys.
Then the Pirates won it.
All right, so they've got comp B. So it's 1, 42, and 67. That's okay. Some of those teams operating in front of you guys in the second round are going to make things interesting, though, because Seattle has 2 comp picks, so they can go buck wild and get really creative. That 29th overall pick is from Julio winning Rookie of the Year. That's freaking cool. Julio was worth everything that he was on the field and a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Imagine giving your player that opportunity.
Yeah, we're late.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So Cruz it is. I'm down with it.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the guys I have up in that mix are also like Braden Taylor from TCU, who just, he's the more generic, like safe guy. Lefty stick, third base, although looked pretty rough at third last weekend from what I was watching. Wyatt Langford at Florida. This is, bodybuilder type guy with huge power, and he can really run fast in a straight line, but he's not a good defensive player. His feel for the outfield is not good. So that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And then Max Clark, the high school outfielder in Indiana, who is like, what Corbin Carroll was in high school is sort of how Max Clark looks, where you're like, yeah, this is, this guy's really skilled and he really smacks the crap out of it, but it's all ground balls and line drives and he really runs. It's sort of like an old school leadoff hitter. And then Corbin Carroll got in the gym and, now he's going to hit 30 bombs. And so maybe Max Clark is the other guy where there's enough ceiling. The other one to name is Arjun Namala from Florida. High school shortstop. Maybe that guy really explodes. That's the dark horse name at this stage, where just, the fact that he's going to be shy of 18 on draft day, how much power there is already for a guy his size at his age. Yeah, that's a name that Pirates fans should look up. Arjun Namala. Do some background on that. There's a scouting report on the site, but I'm sure there's been other stuff written about this kid. I think he's of Indian descent, and I think he's got cricket in his family and all sorts of other baseball-y adjacent stuff that is pretty cool. And I'm really interested in him as well. He's the one guy as I'm looking down the list who, if you're who's going to be Jackson Holiday, and take BP in front of scouts in the spring and look like he's added a full grade and a half of power while staying at shortstop, that's the other guy.
Hey, you all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.